Morning, everybody. Welcome to this cloudy, humid day in Llangadog. Let me know if you're here. Just send me a little message and say hi. Hopefully you've been tuning in to all of my art chats. They seem to be quite popular, which is very pleasing. It's nice to have a chat with people and it's nice to get comments back. Today we're going to be talking about what's available online from an art point of view. So workshops, classes, exhibitions, television, all that sort of thing. I'm going to try, there's a new feature on Facebook Live, and I'm going to try to do a screen share. So that will mean that I will flick between me and one of my other pages, which will enable me to show you how to access these things, especially if you're not used to accessing things online. I know a lot of you really only use email and occasionally one or two other things, but like I had a conversation with one of my students just before we were shut down, who wasn't aware of the fact that you could watch films online and things like that. So obviously there's a big sort of gap in people's knowledge. So I just thought I'd help you out a bit, but also show you a few of the things that I'm watching and quite excited about, because there's probably double if not triple what's available the normal because of the situation. Everybody's working online. I mean, I even tried to get a new webcam the other day in Carmarthen, and I couldn't get one because basically everybody's been out buying webcams because they want to Zoom and do all that sort of thing. So, yeah. So please leave comments, ask questions. If you've got any suggestions of what you've been watching or what you've been accessing online, then please, put it in the comments box, and that will be shared with all the other viewers, which is really nice. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I put on yesterday some details about the Towie Valley Open Studios, which is obviously cancelled for this year, but some people are opening anyway because we didn't know what the situation was going to be like. I'm not opening, but the gallery will be open on a sort of one in, one out basis. And you can also view a virtual tour of my studio and also book appointments to come and have a look as individuals. Okay, so have a look at that as well. I will put details of that up later on. On the information about this live chat, there's all the details of all the things I'm going to be talking about now. So you don't need to write them down. You can just access that later on. And I will put it on all my other social media as well, so that you can share it and watch it in your own good time, because it's quite a lot. as always, I've overdone it. Hello from Action Man. I'm just having a bit of a slurp. Okay, so what shall we do first? Right, I'm just going to try and access this other screen. If you lose me, then I'll just jump back in again. Hopefully you won't lose me. Hopefully this will work. All right. So basically I will just screen share and hopefully you'll see. Hang on a sec. Oops. I want to do this. Oh no, it won't let me do it. Let me see now. If I try, no, that's taking me off. I don't think it's going to let me do it. Okay, don't worry. So let's go back to what I was saying. So what I'll have to do is just talk you through what I've been looking at. So as you know, you will have seen that there's a huge amount of information online about things that are on. And I just wanted to give you my top few, really. So I've been looking at Tate.org. So this is the Tate Gallery's website. Just type in Tate Gallery and it will give you a list of information. If you want to access Tate Britain, you need to type in Tate Britain, okay? But for example, on the Tate.org website, there's a series of films about artists. So there's a film about an artist, an abstract artist called Frank Bowling, and that includes a session by two of his assistants showing you how to paint like Frank Bowling. So if you're interested in abstract art and how, what's the process that they go through, what's the thought process, how do they experiment, all that sort of thing, you can read and watch a film about the artist, see his work, and then you can actually watch and possibly, do your own example of a Frank Bowling painting. I watched this yesterday and it was really great, actually. Abstraction is something that a lot of people struggle with, but it really sort of shows you how to let go and not be too fussy about subject and just think about colour and pattern and texture and form. So, for those, I know a lot of my students really would like to experiment a bit more with abstract art. So, yeah, have a look at that. It is fun, right? So then we go on to Tate Liverpool, because obviously on the Tate Gallery website, they've got different pages for each of their galleries. And there's Tate Liverpool, just in case you don't know. There's the Tate Gallery in Tate Modern in London and Tate Britain, which are both on the Thames. And then you've got Tate Liverpool and Tate St Ives. So all of those have different things going on. So at Tate Liverpool, for example, you can do a virtual tour of Taki Katie's Drawing Nature exhibition, which is currently on, and it's really great. You can get really close in on the pictures, and it feels like you're in the gallery because it sort of walks you through. And it's Japanese art, and it's really amazing. So I'll have a look at that. There's other things like Annie Albers. There's an artist who's a weaver, and she's a sort of multimedia artist, but she's talking here specifically about her weaving. That's a really beautiful documentary to watch. And then there's things like Paul Arrigo and other artists. There's lists after lists. Another thing they do is that every single artwork that the Tate owns is online. So they've got 77,000 artworks, of which you can access each individual one. So you can see an image of the artwork, and then you can see all the details about where it's held, where it's being shown, if it's being loaned, how much they paid for it, how much it's worth, all that sort of thing. Really, really interesting. And you can obviously search particular artists that you're interested in, and also types of art, so genres of art. If you like Impressionist art, for example, then you can just look at the Impressionists. So it's really great. So search the artwork. There's also women within those categories. There's a women at women art at the Tate. So that's been particularly interesting of late. So I'll have a look at that. There's also artists' rooms, which are, you access the studios and the working spaces of artists and talk to the artists and talk about their work. So that's great. There's a really nice one by Agnes Martin, and I talked about, I put some information on my YouTube channel about Agnes, and she is a sort of mathematical, meditative painter, abstract painter again. She's really interesting to watch, and she's coming. She's I don't know how old she is. She's probably in her 70s now. So really interesting lady, very influential to a lot of current working artists. Um, as well as that, you can go in their shop, so in the Tate Gallery shop, and order yourself some nice things. They sell art materials and books and all sorts of lovely, lovely things, all produced by the majority produced by artists, so that's really great. And you can, well, there's currently a whole page on the reopening of the galleries because they're all in the process this week, really, of reopening. So that will give you details about what's on and how to access it. And if you want to, we must keep going to art galleries because they're going to shut. If we don't, they'll shut. So please support them. Go. Everybody's got safe access. They're all following the rules. There's not as many people being allowed in, all that sort of thing. So please support your local galleries, particularly, and obviously then your major galleries. The local galleries are struggling a lot because of funding cuts, and it's not looking good for the future. So get out of your houses, and go to your local galleries and your major galleries. So then we go to Tate Britain, and which is, I love that gallery. If you've never been, please go. It's marvellous. And you can get a boat now between the two, which is really great. Damien Hirst's boat is covered in spots, but you can basically just walk out of Tate Modern, get on the boat, go down the Thames, past Westminster, all that, Pimlico, and then you're at Tate. It drops you straight outside Tate Britain. Absolutely lovely. But they've got walkthroughs of all their collections, but also access to the Turner collection. So they've got the entire Turner archive online. It is incredible. So even every single sketchbook that he's produced, so you can go in and you can search for example, Turner did a painting of Carrickkennen, and there it is in front of you. You've got access to collections that you never would have had, 10 years ago. And it's a really wonderful experience to just flick through his sketchbooks and just see how he thought, which is really wonderful. And they've got films of all the artists and stuff like that. So, yeah, pretty much every gallery has some form of online thing happening currently. So go in, search the gallery name, and then just check out what the current provision is. And because they can't open, they've all had to go online. So it's a very novel time, because there's a lot of stuff that you won't be able to access again in a couple of months if everything starts clearing up, because they'll reopen and then they'll take all this stuff down. So take advantage of it now. iPlayer. I watch iPlayer a lot. They've got an art channel. It's free. It's not like Netflix and all that Sky stuff, where you have to pay. Well, you have to pay TV license, obviously. But iPlayer is great. There's currently all sorts of things on there. There's things like Home is Where the Art Is. So that's an afternoon program where they ask artists to compete to make art for people. That can be quite fun. There's The Art of Persia is really lovely. So if you fancy a bit of travel and looking a little bit of a warmer climate and also exploring its art and culture, then that's a really good series. And they've got another thing called The Age of the Image, which is talking about how popular imagery is currently, and that's really great. ITV, they've got a really nice documentary about Lowry, and a painting that has just recently been sold by a British scientist who didn't realise how much it was and all that sort of thing. So that's really good. They've also got ITV Creates, which is a bunch of shorts. So these are short films about various art forms, and but it doesn't just cover sort of visual arts. It covers craft, music, opera, all that, everything. So have a look at that. It's called ITV Creates. Really good. There's a really nice one there about, it's also talking to sort of individual artists. So there's a lady talking about, if I can remember her name's Faith Beddington, and she makes these incredible sculptures, animal sculptures out of recycled plastic. And another friend of mine does that as well. I have an artist friend who lives in London, called Sandy Sutton, and she also makes sculptures out of recycled plastic bottles and bits and bobs, which are fantastic. You know, she also highlights endangered species, which are, is really important. More locally, you've got Oriel Merthin. So they're doing art classes with Oriel Merthin. So Emily, their I think she's the education officer. She is doing a series of little sort of workshops online. A lot of them are for kids, but they're still fun to do if you like being creative, and also fun to do with grandchildren or children or whatever. That it just is lovely. And she's using sort of recycled materials, things that you have, because I know that a lot of people have not been able to access shops and things like that. So materials that you've already got in your home. Culture Colony and Oriel Davis, they've got a nice video trailer about Gareth Griffith, who's a local artist, really interesting. He also showed, I think it was last year, maybe autumn, Oriel Merthin. So you may have seen his work already, but the film is really lovely. And they have more information about local artists. And then you've got your local stuff going on. So you've got things like me doing my YouTube channel. So you've got all that to access. There's like 50 odd now. I mean, they seem to be being watched, so that's really great. And people are enjoying them. But you go into YouTube, type in my name, they'll all come up. But I'm not the only artist doing it. There's millions of them. I just thought it might be nice to see a local familiar face and not somebody from the United States or whatever teaching. So I thought that might go down well, and it seems to be working really nicely. And also keeping my students occupied during this time. I know that they've been missing classes and it's not the same as working together, but hopefully we'll be back in September if everybody keeps staying safe. I mean, I went into Carmarthen yesterday because I had to get one of these webcams, and it was deathly quiet. I mean, it seems that even though people have been given the go-ahead to go out, that they're still staying in, which is fantastic. Everybody needs to stay safe, continue, and hopefully we'll come out of the other end. So yeah, there's me. So there's the Towie Valley Open Studios. Like I said earlier on, the Open Studios was supposed to be next week, but it's been cancelled because obviously due to access. But there are some studios that are open because you are able to access them safely. And my gallery will be open. So my gallery will be open with my work in, and Mick Sheridan Upholstery's work in. So if you fancy a visit, we're open all next week, Monday to Friday. It will be limited to 2 people in the gallery at once. So you may find there's a queue, you may find that it's empty, but come along. And if you want to see my studio, you can make an appointment and I'll book you in through August. So there's that. And then the only other thing that I've got, I mean, I could go on forever. There's so much stuff online. Do not deny yourself it because you're frightened of the tech. It's really important that you embrace it and don't worry about it. So because like one of the first things that I ever used was a thing called Pinterest, which has been enormously helpful to me. And I've shared it with other people, and they're just like amazed. But it's like it's a search engine which is better than Google or the usual ones that you use because it's filtered. So it's mainly for arts and crafts and visual stuff. And if you download it onto your phone or onto your laptop, then you can access all of the images that are on there. So you literally, if you're doing, like for example, next week we're doing in the art classes. Oh, by the way, that's the other thing. Um, if you would like to join a class, it's £12 for a 2 hour session, and I'm doing a different session each morning and afternoon for the whole of next week. And like on Thursday, I have a botanical art session. All the information again is online, and we're going to be using dog daisies to paint. So if you type dog daisies into Pinterest, you'll see everything comes up. So not only images, photographic images, but you've got paintings, drawings, cartoons, everything, and then you can make little files and save things. So that's been really helpful for me, especially with regard to my work. So have a look at that. Really simple, very safe to use. You don't need to put, you have to download the app, and they only want your email, but that's it. So there's no payment involved or anything. So okay, last week I talked about how to use iPads and iPhones, drawing applications and things like that. And I'm hoping that some of you may have had a go. But again, you've got access to all sorts of apps online. So, have a look at those as well. It's not just for drawing and painting. If you're if you sew or if you knit or that sort of thing, you've got hundreds of free clothes making patterns, free knitting tutorials, crocheting tutorials. You can learn everything. I mean, last night, I watched a guy from Yorkshire in Sheffield, and he was I think he's in his 70s, and he's also got thyroid cancer, but he was going up to the top of the tallest tree in one of the parks in Sheffield and sleeping up there. So he showed you how to, he's a professional tree climber and climber, this guy, but he showed you how to get up the tree safely, how to attach yourself to the top of the tree safely, how to erect a sleeping platform, and how to sort of eat, drink, all that sort of thing while you're up there. And he filmed the entire process, and it was really interesting and quite lovely actually, because he was there in the middle of the night filming the owls and all the sounds that he could hear, and then he filmed the dawn chorus, and just really lovely, very informative, very calming to watch. So it's not just that, you can find out about what else have I not talked about? Oh yeah, you can find out about big art events, like there's things called Crafts Alive or whatever it's called in Birmingham. So that every year they have this big, at the NEC, they have this big crafts event where you can go and look at craft items, buy craft materials, and take part in craft workshops. They do a similar thing in, I think I've got details of it here somewhere, in Cardiff. What's it called? I can't remember what it's called. Oh, made by hand. So they do a thing in Cardiff which is very similar. So made by hand, really good weekend event, I think. Again, access it online. I'll put details on the worksheet afterwards. There's the Festival of Stitch in Swansea, which is on every year, but obviously cancelled this year. But they're doing online provision as well. The thing in Birmingham is called Hobby Crafts. Art materials. If you want to buy art materials, there's pretty much everybody now has a website and you can shop online. So even the local art shops here will buy, sell online. So I use two. One is called Atlantis Art, and they're based in London on Brick Lane. Absolutely massive. If you want to visit the shop itself, go. It's amazing. It's a warehouse full of art materials. It's just fantastic. You spend all day in there. And then I use also Cass Art materials for cheaper stuff. Again, really good. They've got a shop in Bristol, but they're not currently. They're not in Wales, but that's the closest shop. But then you've got I can't remember what the one that was on King Street in Carmarthen, which is now in Haverfordwest. I know that they sell online. What else? There's people like my sister, Lisa Roberts. She works for an organisation called Pagan, and they've done an interactive art piece in Finland, in Helsinki, called Chrysalis, where you can, it's a sort of 3D collaborative interactive piece sort of thing. And you can access this chrysalis, which is hiding underground via your phone. You can do that online. I think it's still online, but look at her work and the work of the organisations that she works with. Some really interesting stuff going on there. There's a local artist in Narberth called Lee John Phillips, and he has been drawing the entire contents of his grandfather's shed. And he's an incredible illustrator, and it's a really interesting project, a lot of which is online. Have a look at those. You can access magazines. So the SAA, which I'm a member of because I have my public liability insurance with them, but they also have a catalogue and sell art materials cheaply, which is really good. And they do I think it's a monthly magazine as in part of the deal. But they have a lot of stuff online, including free workshops. Local magazine called Buzz Magazine. They advertise all our events. They're really, really, really supportive. They're online, but you can pick up copies in libraries normally. But obviously you can't. I don't know whether the libraries are open yet. I haven't heard anything. We've also got in Carmarthenshire, in East Carmarthenshire, where we live in Llangadog, we have a small magazine called The Post, and they have all sorts of events advertised in there and local stuff. And that's all online, and I think they run out of Llandovery, but if you type in The Post Llandovery, then you should be able to access that. Books, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. There's a lot of interesting articles on how to do that and exercises. One of my friends who does a lot of work on Twitter. He's currently taking himself through one of those series of exercises, some of which we did a couple of years ago in a class, like drawing upside down, not physically, but turning your image upside down and making the drawing upside down and things like that, which are really great to experiment with. What else? There's a thing on, if you like life drawing, there are free life drawing classes. They're fabulous to take part in and do your drawing an awful lot of good. There's a thing on this weekend with London Drawing Group called Matisse Drawing with Scissors. So if Matisse, especially in his later years, spent most of his life in bed, so he would cut out pieces of paper and then stick them to the wall and to the ceiling, and he made these huge collages. So yeah, that's about that. Really good. And there's another one called Drawing with Sticks, like Matisse. So that's a great one. Okay, I think I've talked enough. I've done nearly 30 minutes. I think that's enough for everybody. Again, let me know if you've seen anything, accessed anything that's really interesting and you'd like to share, then just add in a comment. Don't forget to subscribe and like these art chats, and hope you're all fine. Like I said, things seem to be getting back to normal a little bit, but everything's still very quiet, so everybody seems to be being sensible, which is great. And I'm thoroughly enjoying having time I mean, just cutting down 2 hours a day, an hour to 2 hours a day of traveling has been invaluable, as to how much extra work I've been able to do. Um, I also made a little film the other day about for Gardeners World, because they are asking people to send in little films about their gardens, and they're sharing those online, and the odd one is getting picked out to be on the TV. That's if you've been watching it, Gardeners World. So I did a little bit the other day. So yeah, it's opened up all sorts of opportunities. But don't sit there in isolation thinking, oh my gosh, we're 3 months, nearly 4 months in now, and running out of ideas. There's a lot of stuff to access. Um, and have a go, have a go at some classes. I've been taking part in an online chat Zoom meeting with an organisation in Cardiff, and they're talking about um, artists and what the future looks like for them, and if we can solve some of the issues to do with those problems and what we'll face in the future. I mean, most artists are struggling anyway, but then put into this situation as well, we're struggling even more. So yeah, please support your local artists. Please support your local art galleries, your local cultural organisations. We really need to spend some money, go and see some stuff, whatever it is. All right, nice to see you all. Stay safe, and I will see you next week. Bye. Bye. Oh, 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 it won't end. My cursor's gone all funny, everybody, so my video's still messing about. Well, it might be a while. No, I'm gonna have to shut it.